Antarctica and Imprisoned Fallen Angels from the Book of Enoch. On March 14, Israeli News Live published a provocative story titled "The Fallen Angels, Imprisoned in Antarctica and Are Still Alive." The commentator, Stephen Ben Nunn, analyzed the apocryphal Book of Enoch, which describes the experiences of Enoch, a pre-Diluvian biblical figure who was taken into the heavens to witness and play a key role in a major celestial conflict. Enoch became the principal intermediary between the two sides of the conflict between the fallen angels and the righteous angels, serving an all-knowing deity referred to as the Lord. There were multiple issues in the conflict, such as fallen angels interbreeding and/or performing genetic experiments with humanity and passing on forbidden knowledge and technologies to the still developing human civilization. The Book of Enoch begins with the arrival of 200 fallen angels in the area of Mount Hermon, which borders modern-day Lebanon and Syria. The fallen angels began interbreeding and/or genetically modifying the local inhabitants. Quote, "And it came to pass, when the sons of men had increased, that in those days there were born to them fair and beautiful daughters. And the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, Come, let us choose for ourselves wives from the children of men, and let us beget for ourselves children. And there were in all 200, and they came down on Ardis, which is the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called the mountain Hermon, because on it they swore and bound one another with curses." End quote. While the former angels had established an outpost on Mount Hermon, it was Antarctica that they would be removed to ultimately after losing the heavenly battle with the righteous angels, according to Ben Nunn's analysis of the Book of Enoch. Ben Nunn cites passages from the Book of Enoch which are very suggestive of Antarctica as indeed the location where Enoch was taken to witness celestial events. Quote, "And I saw the winds on the earth which support the clouds, and I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above. And I went towards the south, and it was burning day and night, where there were 7 mountains of precious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. And those towards the east were of coloured stone, and one was of pearl, and one of healing stone, and those towards the south of red stone. And the middle one reached to heaven, like the throne of the Lord of Stibium, and the top of the throne was of sapphire." End quote. What's interesting in the above passage is that Enoch refers to a location that was, quote, "was burning day and night," end quote. Ben Nunn believes that this fits the description of Antarctica during the southern hemisphere summer season when there is a 24-hour sunlight. Regarding the 7 mountains, this appears to refer to Mount Vinson in the Sentinel Range of Antarctica, according to Ben Nunn. He also refers to 6 nearby mountains in the range that might qualify as the mountains described in the Book of Enoch. Mount Vinson is the highest mountain in Antarctica and is located towards the middle of the Sentinel Range. It would have stood out just as spectacularly with its snow-capped peaks in ancient times as it does today. Regarding the southern and eastern alignment of the 6 adjacent mountains to Mount Vinson described in the Book of Enoch, Ben Nunn speculates that this was their alignment prior to the catastrophic flood event which coincided with the shifting of the Earth's axis of rotation. This corresponds to the research conducted by Sir Charles Hapgood, who asserts that pole shifts have been a regular occurrence in Earth's history. In his 1958 book, Earth's Shifting Crust, Hapgood proposes that a pole shift had happened at the end of the last ice age, about 11,000 BC. Ben Nunn's conjecture is interesting, but as one can see from the map showing the Sentinel Range where Mount Vinson is situated, there are far more than 7 mountains in the range. Ben Nunn's conjecture is intriguing, but not conclusive, as he himself points out. Nevertheless, he gives us a possible location of the imprisoned fallen angels, Mount Vinson and/or 6 other mountains in the Sentinel Range. Ben Nunn goes on to discuss the Book of Enoch and its reference to imprisoned fallen angels that were removed from Mount Hermon to Antarctica. Quote, "And like a spirit questioning me, the angel said, This is the place of the end of heaven and earth. This is the prison for the stars of heaven and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire, these are the ones which transgressed the command of the Lord from the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them and bound them until the time of the consummation of their sin in the year of mystery." End quote. Ben Nunn's reference to the pre-Adamites still being alive in their Antarctica prison raises an intriguing possibility. The Book of Enoch describes a future year of mystery when they are liberated. Is this the event we are shortly to witness? For an answer, we can begin by analysing some intriguing parallels between Ben Nunn's analysis of the Book of Enoch and the recent disclosures of Secret Space Program whistleblower Corey Goode concerning Antarctica. Like the pre-diluvial biblical figure Enoch, Goode says he has also been taken to witness celestial events by a recently arrived group of highly evolved extraterrestrials called the Sphere Being Alliance. Like Enoch, Goode has also been asked to act as an intermediary for both sides in a heavenly or a solar system-wide conflict. Goode said this began in March 2015 when he accepted the role as the delegate for the Sphere Being Alliance in an ongoing negotiations between different factions and groups from both Earth and off-world civilizations. Goode said that he has been taken to Antarctica twice to witness events. The most recent, in January 2017, involved him viewing the remains of a pre-Adamite civilization that had flourished until a major global catastrophe corresponding with the Great Flood that destroyed coastal cities and low-lying land all over the world around 12 to 13,000 years ago. Goode said that the pre-Adamites survived by entering stasis chambers in the largest of 3-mile-long motherships that crash-landed on Earth around 60,000 years ago, after the pre-Adamites were expelled from the Moon due to a conflict with the dominant extraterrestrial factions there. The pre-Adamites set up their major base of operations in Antarctica and established outposts in Asia, Europe, and the Americas, according to Goode. Conflicts soon emerged between the pre-Adamites and other human-looking extraterrestrial groups who had been conducting 22 genetic experiments with surface humanity for nearly 500,000 years. This is where Goode's historical account resonates with Ben Nunn's analysis of the Book of Enoch. Goode's pre-Adamites appear to be the same fallen angels described in the Book of Enoch in terms of their interbreeding and/or genetic experiments with the local population. In the case of the Mount Hermon landing of the 200 fallen angels, this is consistent with Goode's claim that the pre-Adamites established colonies all over the earth where they genetically altered the local humans and installed hybrids into leadership positions. Regarding the righteous angels described in the Book of Enoch, these appear to be the extraterrestrial groups that have been conducting 22 long-term genetic experiments which were being interfered with by the pre-Adamites. The Sphere Being Alliance, insofar as they have leveled the playing field for constructive negotiations between different space programs and extraterrestrial factions, the modern-day fallen and righteous angels appear to be playing a similar role to the all-knowing Lord mentioned in the Book of Enoch. Ben Nunn's analysis that the fallen angels were imprisoned in Antarctica and are still alive corresponds with Goode's claim that the pre-Adamites are in stasis chambers on one of their massive motherships buried deep below the Antarctic ice shelf. Finally, Goode has revealed that excavations in Antarctica are underway and that the stasis chambers containing the pre-Adamites have been found. The hybrid descendants of the pre-Adamites, which are among the elite bloodline families that secretly have ruled humanity, are eager to gain access to the stasis chambers and to reawaken their ancient ancestors. The goal of doing so appears to be to have the pre-Adamites reassume once again their former dominance in planetary affairs, thereby allowing their hybrid offspring to step out of the shadows and directly rule over humanity. This suggests that the year of mystery mentioned in the Book of Enoch, when the fallen angels are liberated, may be very close. All this leads to an intriguing question. Is Goode himself, a modern-day Enoch, being given key roles in witnessing and mediating between different human and extraterrestrial factions as the delegate of the Sphere Being Alliance, which appears to be functionally identical to the all-knowing deity described in the Book of Enoch? If so, this would suggest that Enoch himself was an extraterrestrial contactee of the Sphere Being Alliance or a similar group 13,000 years ago. If the pre-Adamites or the fallen angels are awakened or liberated, then there will certainly be a need to deal with them and their hybrid offspring about what roles they are to play as humanity awakens to the truth of its history and manipulation by multiple extraterrestrial groups and elite bloodline families. This has been Michael Sala with Exo News TV.
Well, that certainly gives you something to think about. Gives me something to think about, especially when I see articles like this, and this is from the two-way breaking news from NPR, about the massive iceberg breaks free in Antarctica. It also explains why the book of Enoch has been removed from the Bible. Are the fallen angels really sealed underneath the Antarctica ice? So far, I cannot deny the information. Anyways, I'm kind of a little, I'm in deep thought right now. But yes, if the fallen angels are still living in Antarctica, are they freeing themselves? Is this why we have the Antarctica Treaty, which makes no sense? Is this why the elite only get to go to Antarctica? Sad to say, I believe so. So a massive iceberg breaks free in Antarctica. That tells me, you know what, everybody? All veils of all sorts are being removed. And I'm just going to read the article. I cannot ad-lib right now because my mind's on overdrive. So let's read this. A massive iceberg the size of Delaware has broken free from Antarctica and is floating in the sea. They will blame this on climate change, but we all know that's a massive lie. Okay. Earlier Wednesday, scientists announced that the 6,000 square kilometer, about 2,000 square miles, iceberg had come loose. After satellites detected it, had calved off the Larsen C ice shelf on the Antarctic Peninsula. Okay, so anyways, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I just wanted to point this out, that it does look like we are soon, very soon, are going to learn and know the secrets hidden in Antarctica. And if it's true that these fallen angels are still alive, then, well, we need to be prepared. Because, well, I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm sorry. Just, I've had a rough day. I'm kind of in a bit of shock. And it just, things are happening so quick. You know, things are being revealed on a daily basis. Alright, just like when I had the opportunity to speak to the Hopi lady, and she explained to me that the red and blue Kachinas are here. They're not Nibiru. She laughed. This Hopi lady laughed when I mentioned Nibiru. So Nibiru is bullshit, okay? But this, not bullshit. themselves, or our government is helping them. Alright, I mean, look at this. A massive iceberg breaks free in Antarctica? Hello? That tells me that our government did that. Our government are the hybrids. The elite are the hybrids. They all have the same bloodline. Alright? That's what's making me think. It's the fact that these fallen angels that are probably beneath this ice are being helped by our government to break free from their ice containment. That's what they're doing. That's what I believe. That's why nobody can go to Antarctica. No fly zone. Because the government knows what's beneath the ice. And our government's evil. So, yes, my friends, it's possible. And I'm sad. I can't explain it. I'm sorry. I'm deep in thought. Maybe I should have waited to do this video. But it's important to know that I think the secrets of Antarctica have been revealed. And with this recent iceberg break, I think the governments around the world were responsible for that. Alright? The government knows the truth. That's why they have that stupid treaty in Antarctica, which makes no sense. Because there's something evil in Antarctica. And I can no longer think that Atlantis is beneath Antarctica. I'm confused. Alright? I'm confused. Anyways, sorry for the pause. I just don't know how to put into words what I'm thinking right now about this. Because, well, gotta admit that the veils are being removed left and right. Deep state has been revealed. The Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs, the sorrowful Soros, you name it, Morgans, Zuckerberg, you name it. They're the only ones who know. And they're evil. They're evil people. So, whatever they're doing in Antarctica is evil. So that's why I believe that in the book of Enoch. That's why I believe that was removed from the Bible. Because they didn't want people to know this information. The book of Enoch clearly states that the fallen angels are alive underneath the ice sheets of Antarctica. And now we have chunks of the ice breaking away. Pretty soon Antarctica will be completely revealed. So, beware. And I better end it here because I'm babbling. And I need to think about what I just saw. Alright, everybody. I love you all. Take care. And good always prevails. The red and blue kachina, explained to me by a Hopi, was dog shit simple. Good and evil. And both good and evil are here right now. Right now. There is the battle of good and evil is going on. Unfortunately, all I'm seeing is the evil. I'd like to see the good. So, it's just a wait and see. I don't want this to happen. You know, I'm kind of sad that I'm living in these times. You know, it's not something I want to see. Anyways, I'm getting emotional. I'm so sorry. So, until next time, I love you all. Take care. Namaste. Which means my soul recognizes your soul. I love you.
Unusual. We're going to be discussing several things in our news broadcast today that clearly are, in some people's opinions, they are conspiracy theories. In other people's opinions, these things are really real. These things are happening on the earth. But we're also going to be looking at this from a prophetic standpoint, something that I discovered recently written in the book of Enoch, a book that, well, in some circles of Christianity and in Judaism, that the book of Enoch is not part of Bible, but yet it's clearly part of the Ethiopic scriptures. It was even part of the Qumran community, where there's been many fragments, including an incomplete scroll of the book of Enoch that was discovered. So the Jewish people did accept the book of Enoch as an authoritative biblical scripture at one time, and in many Bibles it still is there, including even the Et Sefer that Dr. Stephen Pidgeon has put out as well, where he put this book back in the Bible. So we're going to be looking at some things from there, and we're going to even be looking at some articles that have been considered, well, some might say it's fake news, some might say it's satire. Regardless of the case, there may be some very truth to it, and this is why I wanted to talk to you about these things. Antarctica has really become a major subject in recent, well, in fact, in the last year, even more so. There's been every kind of conspiracy theory that it is a place for a massive alien base. This is where aliens go at. We know of the one of the former military officers, Byrd, who fought a conflict near Antarctica and lost a lot of men, claiming that there were flying discs, flying saucers coming out of the Antarctica, and just there's all kinds of evidence that is legitimate evidence that clearly seems to show that the Antarctica is certainly a base of some sort. The Germans also, under Adolf Hitler, had a base down at Antarctica. There's all kinds of things that are going on in this region of the world, and this year, or actually last year, when the election, John Kerry himself disappeared down to the Antarctica during the very day of election. But what was really strange is that when John Kerry went down there, he goes to New Zealand right afterwards, and there was a massive earthquake inside of New Zealand. I'm going to share with you, you can see some of the images here on this article here from the New York Times. They'll show you some of the images of the earthquake itself. 7.8 magnitude earthquake. The earthquake was very, very shallow, and in one article that we saw, that was probably considered satire, that they have many stages of the churches had met together to try to mend their relationship. He goes to South America afterwards, and then the unexpected trip to Antarctica. Well, the question is, why did he go to Antarctica? Well, in one article here, the Ark of Gabriel, Antarctica, Russia, and the Apocalypse, speaks about how that the Russian government had actually moved a mysterious ark that was discovered at Mecca underneath the ground there and was brought out. Many people died in the process, according to the article's claim here, and that Russia did a special movement of this ark down to Antarctica. Now, again, whether we would say this is just a bunch of garbage or if it's really true or not, I'll just leave that up to you. But maybe what I'm going to share with you in a few minutes might weigh in on your thinking. So I do ask you, just kind of bear with me a little bit here while we discuss these things here. Anyway, at Mecca, if you remember, I believe it was last year, there was a quote-unquote stampede. And the news reported that some 717 people were killed in this stampede. This is something that has never happened before at Mecca, and actually we found out later that it was 2,000 people were killed there in Mecca, and an apparent stampede that killed all of these people. Well, not according to some of the articles there. In fact, as you can see this crane here that is toppled, that what was actually going on at Mecca was an excavation of this strange ark called the Ark of Gabriel, that according to the article here, this was something that Muhammad had said, had prophesied about. And this was buried here beneath this very place, and they were working on trying to bring it out, and some type of plasma release was done, and it caused the death of all these people. Again, is this just conspiracy theories? Is it fabricated? Who really knows? But one thing that is a fact, though, is there was a Russian ship, a scientific ship, headed to Antarctica, and that ship did stop at the port there in Saudi Arabia, supposedly to take on supplies. Well, as you know, Saudi Arabia is not necessarily the greatest friend of Russia, but they did it anyway, right? So then, after that, the ship goes to South Africa and then on to Antarctica. So they did stop and pick something up in Saudi Arabia. So maybe the article has got some truth in it after all. And then right after this ship goes to Antarctica, this is when Kirill suddenly goes down there to visit the one and only Eastern Orthodox Church at the Antarctica. So just too many strange things are happening. And a lot of people just write it off as conspiracy theories, these things about aliens and all this stuff going on in Antarctica. This is just a bunch of nonsense to begin with. Well, I always I looked at these things and I think, wow, that's pretty interesting. I will tell you though, this article here that you're seeing now in English, this article did appear in the mainstream Russian media as well. We did a report on this back months ago, and I was trying to find the actual report I did on it. Could not find it to save my life there. But I wanted to share that with you, and if you look back, maybe you can find it yourself. But when we did the report on this, we used Russian media, mainstream Russian media, that does not look at this as being just a fabrication. They actually reported it as real news, and that yes, indeed, Russia did do a secret mission down to the Antarctica and had taken a thing called the Ark of Gabriel. So there is a Russian news source out there that does not look at this as some kind of conspiracy. And it went much deeper than what this article goes into it. We shared that with you once before. But then something caught my attention the other day. As you can see on your screen now, this is the book of Enoch. I was reading in the first book of Enoch, chapter 18. And this is where the angel Uriel is taking Enoch and showing him some very interesting things. And I'm going to share with you some of the words that I read here in Enoch, and then you'll see why it became very interesting to me. If we go down to, say, verse 4 and begin there, it says, "And I saw the winds which turned the sky and caused the disk of the sun and all the stars to set. And I saw the winds on the earth which support the clouds, And I saw the path of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above. And I went towards the south. Okay, so he goes to the end of the earth. And he speaks about going towards the south. And it was burning day and night, where there were 7 mountains of precious stones, and 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Now, I begin to think about this. He's talking about 7 mountains, but 3 go to the east and 3 go to the south. And he's talking about going towards the south. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, and he's talking about it being that it burns day and night. It was burning day and night. In other words, the sun is not setting. And I'm thinking to myself, well, the South Pole, that describes the South Pole like no other place on Earth. The sun just doesn't really ever set. It's always daylight. And so it really caught my attention. But then he mentioned about the 7 mountains. And of course he talks about the stones, etc. But then he says east and 3 go to the south. Well, that really got my attention. So I thought to myself, okay, is there a place down at the Antarctica that would kind of match this type of description? Well, oddly enough, there is. It's Mount Vincent. Now, you have to keep in mind what you're looking at here on your screen. You have Mount Vincent right here. It is called the Seven Summit. There are 3 going south. Now, you would say these are 3 to the west. It's actually described as southeast and southwest. But keeping in mind, when Enoch went here, the earth had not been tilted off its axis. So therefore, north and south, east and west was a bit different, right? And if you take and tilt the earth back the way it would have been, this will go just like that. And then you would have the 3 peaks, as it speaks about here, and we have the summit here, 3 peaks here. Those would go down to the south, just as he describes, and these here, the 3, would go to the east, just as he describes there. The 7 mountains, the 7 summits, and 3 to the east and 3 to the south. That really began to make sense. But the words here in Enoch get a little bit more strange, though. And as I read on, it says, and those towards the east were of colored of stone and was of pearl, and one of a healing stone, and those towards the south of a red stone. And the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of the Lord, and stibium, and the top of the throne was a sapphire. And I saw a burning fire, and what was in all the mountains. Now, keeping in mind, the middle one was the tall one. And of course, at Mount Vincent, that's exactly the way it is. Mount Vincent is the tallest mountain. Now, I can't say that this is conclusively correct. I'm putting this here before you as a conjecture, something for you to think about, just something that I find very fascinating in line with all these anomalies that are happening at Antarctica, all the weird things that are going on. John Kerry, I mean, gosh, he did more than one visit down to the Antarctica here. Why? What's going on? Now, when I first looked at this, I'm thinking Planet X. They're going down there because they can see Planet X coming. All right? And maybe that has something to do with it as well. But what about some other things? I'm going to share with you some very serious things also that are going on down there that have been claimed by former military officers. Okay, so just hold on for a second here. It says, and I saw a place there beyond the great earth. There the waters gathered together, and I saw a deep chasm of the earth with pillars of heavenly fire, and saw among them fiery pillars of heaven, which were falling as regards both height and depth. They were immeasurable. And beyond this chasm, I saw a place, and it had neither the sky above it, nor the foundation of earth below it, and there was no water on it, and no birds, but it was a desert place. Now, I'm sure now when you read this part here, well, that throws that out. Must have been out in Saudi Arabia somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe not, guys. Let's take a look at something else here that's very, very interesting. All right, let's go actually to the 7summits.com website. And this is about Antarctica, and it's about Mount Vincent, and it talks about it being the tallest mountain, etc. Let me read to you the Antarctica facts, though. Besides the mountain summit, if you go down here to say about right up under the blue right here on your screen, the snowfall in Antarctica is so minimal that the continent has been called the world's coldest desert. The interior receives less than 3 centimeters, in other words, less than 1 inch of precipitation a year, making it the driest continent on Earth. The Antarctic dry valleys in Victoria Land are among the driest places on Earth. Some scientists believe that no rain has fallen there for 2 million years. Astronauts have visited the dry valleys because of their similarity to lunar landscapes. Isn't that interesting? They call it the coldest desert on Earth. Well, maybe Enoch has got something when he said it was a desert. All right? As he called it, there was no water on it and no birds, but it was a desert place. Well, there are no birds. There are no penguins when you get that deep into Antarctica. There's just no life at all. And a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars like the great burning mountains, and like a Spirit questioned me. The angel said, "This is the place of the end of heaven and earth. This is the prison for the stars of heaven and the host of heaven and the stars which roll over the fire. These are the ones which transgress the commandment of the Lord from the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them and bound them until the time of consummation of their sin in the year of mystery." And I, Uriel, we go into chapter 19 here, real quick here, just the first verse, said to me, "The spirits of the angels who were promiscuous with women will stand here, and they, assuming many forms, made men unclean, and will lead men astray so that they sacrifice to demons as gods." Now, if you notice, that is a continuation. They're not dead. They're still there. And they do what? They will lead men astray so that they sacrifice to demons as gods. Wasn't that interesting? CERN not long ago, where they sacrificed a young woman. Oh, they claimed it wasn't real, but found out later, according to Russian media, it was real. Russian media even was able to determine which woman it was that had been kidnapped. That was by not just so much the media, it was actually Russian intelligence officers that determined this information, but it was in Russian news, and we shared that with you here on Israeli News Live. So they sacrifice to demons as gods. They will stand there until the great day of judgment, on which they will be judged, so that an end will be made of them. But they still have very much access to men on this earth, and they are leading them astray, and they can they assuming many forms. That's pretty wild. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And the point is that I make here, when we look in chapter 18, it appears to be, and it could be completely somewhere else different on the earth. All right, I'm just saying this as a conjecture to you to consider this. But it appears to be that Antarctica is that region that he's speaking of. For one, it has to be a place that's burning day and night. That sun is where they can see day and night. It seems to really match up, and that's what's really, really fascinating, in my opinion, there. And again, just like the mountains, if you were to take into consideration the antediluvian destruction that tilted the earth off its axis and put the earth back right on its axis, and then look at the peaks here on the map in behind you here,